Hey guys, how's it going? We're going to go through very quickly photosynthesis. So if you don't have your photosynthesis notes out now, hit pause, and then you can go ahead and do your photos and get your photosynthesis notes out so that you can follow along with me. So first, remember photosynthesis is taking in carbon dioxide and water. Carbon dioxide comes in from these tiny little holes in the leaf called stomata, comes up from the roots of the tree, and then meets at the chloroplasts. The chloroplasts take the carbon dioxide and the water and sunlight energy, rearrange those carbon, hydrogen, and oxygens into sugar. And that all happens within the chloroplasts, none of these inner membranes known as the thylakoid membranes. So, where does all the energy come from that sustains life? The sun, as we've talked about before. Now, I say most of it because there are a few autotrophs that don't use sunlight energy. At the bottom of the ocean, where there is no sun, there are hydrothermal vents. They secrete sulfuric acid. The sulfuric acid comes out, and to most life, sulfuric acid would kill life. But there are some bacteria called chemoautotrophs instead of photoautotrophs. Photoautotrophs are ones that do photosynthesis, use sunlight. Chemoautotrophs are ones that use chemicals in order to make their own food. So if the sun went out today, very quickly, all the animals, all the organisms on the planet would die. The only things that would be left are these bacteria on the very bottom of the ocean. So photosynthesis is the process of capturing and transforming sunlight energy into the energy in sugars. Those are the bonds, by the way, the chemical energy in sugars. Autotrophs are capable of making their own food from simple inorganic substances, such as carbon dioxide and water, sunlight energy, all inorganic. Remember, organic has carbon and hydrogen bonded together. You are a heterotroph, an organism that cannot make its own food, so you have to eat that food in order to get the nutrients that you need. Chlorophylls are the photosynthetic pigments that actually are able to absorb sunlight energy, and they are found inside chloroplasts. Chloroplasts contain those photosynthetic pigments, which we'll talk more about in just a little bit. Whoops, I'll give you a second. All right, we need more time, hit pause. So, how can plants do it? Well, plants have pigments that allow them to absorb certain wavelengths of light. Now we're talking about the Roy G. Biv spectrum. Those are the color spectrums: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. That's the Roy G. Biv. That's the visible spectrum. That's the stuff that we can see. So chloroplasts hold chlorophyll, which is a pigment that absorbs sunlight energy and turns it into chemical energy in sugars. All the visible light that's not absorbed by the pigments is reflected. So basically, when white light comes in, plants are absorbing all those colors with the exception of what? What color do you see that they don't absorb very well? That's right, green. Green gets reflected off the plants, at least most of the plants. And that green is what you see when you look at a plant. So now you know why plants are green. It's because they don't absorb green as well as they absorb all the other colors. So when sunlight hits the photosynthetic membrane, these thylakoids that have the photosynthetic pigments, the chlorophylls, most of that light energy is absorbed. The light energy that's reflected is the green light that we see. Now, next time you are walking on hot pavement or on hot sand or on any substance, I want you to think about what it would be like to walk on grass. When's the last time you walked on grass and said, wow, that's really hot? Never, right? Reason is very simple. When the sun's energy hits you or hits the surface of the sand or the road or the sidewalk, that energy gets converted into heat because we can't absorb that energy. Plants are never hot because they take that sunlight energy and instead of losing it as heat energy, they are able to absorb it and use it to create sugars from carbon dioxide and water. So, what is photosynthesis? The process of converting that solar energy into the bonds of sugar. Plants use water, carbon dioxide, and sunlight energy to make sugar. In those sugars, in the bonds, is where we find the sunlight energy. Now, we then eat that sugar in order to break apart the bonds to once again get at that energy. Plants use that energy in order to, or those sugars in order to build more tissues. Heterotrophs then consume the energy, break it apart to get chemical energy from ATP to carry out all your normal life processes. Oops, sorry, there we go. This arrow should be right here, not stuck inside hydrogen there. So we have carbon dioxide, water, and HV. HV is sunlight energy. Converts or changes the carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, rearranges those into C6H12O6. That's our sugar molecule. That's our organic molecule, carbon and hydrogen. Also makes a waste product of sugar and a little bit more water as well as sugar, as oxygen and a little bit more water as well. So you will see this equation again. Make sure you can recognize it as photosynthesis. So here it shows where those carbons end up. Carbons, all 6 of them, end up in carbon and sugar from carbon dioxide. Some of the oxygens end up there. Some of the hydrogens from water also end up in that sugar. So the reason we need carbon dioxide and water is so that we have all of the raw materials to make those sugars. And that's also how we get our extra oxygens. When we break apart hydrogen and oxygen. So the products of photosynthesis are sugars. Sugars can be used by the mitochondria for energy. That's right. Don't forget, plants can go through cell respiration too. Use oxygen and sugar to get ATP. But most of the time, those sugars are used in cell walls and cellulose to build more plant tissue. Molecular oxygen can be used to break down sugar in the plant's mitochondria. Most of the time, it is released as a waste product, which is good for those oxygen-breathing creatures. So, little review on cell respiration. Transformation of chemical energy in the bonds of food into ATP. The mitochondria uses sugar and oxygen in order to do this process. These reactions proceed the same way in plants and animals, and this process is known as aerobic cellular respiration. Once again, looking at the molecules that are produced by cell respiration, water and carbon dioxide, both of which are used by photosynthesis, the raw materials of photosynthesis, including sunlight energy. That photosynthesis makes sugars and oxygens, which once again, the mitochondria is able to use to make more ATP and make those products again. So again, this is the cycling of the molecules, of the carbon, of the atoms, carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. The only thing that doesn't cycle is energy. Energy cannot be reused. We looked at this picture before. Same thing, just showing a different version of that mitochondria chloroplast. And that is it. If you have any questions, please send me a remind. And other than that, I hope you have a great break, and I'll see you on the flip side.